You're watching Japan Journal, the internet's #1 weekly English language online cybercast from Japan. Japan Journal with Mal Adams. This edition of Japan Journal features an episode of our new and improved series, Rap About It. We urge you to view our YouTube channel regularly for original content seen nowhere else on the internet or in the new meta-universe. Please click the like icon, the share button, and the notification bell, and then subscribe to this channel to be alerted when new video programs are uploaded and published. You'll be glad you did. Thank you very much for your ongoing support of our programming on GNN, the global news network, powered by DDM, the Totown digital metaverse platform. Japan Journal with Mal Adams, the internet's #1 weekly English language online cybercast from Japan. This episode features our regular series, Rap About It. And now your host, Mal Adams.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Japan Journal, the internet's #1 weekly English language online cybercast from Japan. Japan Journal featuring yet another episode of the new and improved Rap About It with your brother Mal in Japan. Coming to you live from the Media Arts Lab here in beautiful downtown Kakegawa City in Shizuoka Prefecture, in the center of the Japanese archipelago here on the west end of Shizuoka, baby, next to Hamamatsu, the home of Yamaha and Kawaii Piano and Roland and all of that in my neighborhood. And today is green screen. Green screen is the studio configuration, but we got Mount Fuji too. in the TVs. It is a pleasure and an honor for me to present tonight's guest, who you all know whether you know it or not. Let me just say hi, Max. Thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure.
Hi.
You look so great, and this is being received with much anticipation because I did the proper promotion of it, and all of our friends from Japan, all of our friends from Omaha, no doubt, are watching in with anticipation. Let me just introduce this lady like so. Viola Davis transforms into the mother of the blues for her award-winning role in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. And while for her powerhouse performance, former Ike and soul singer Maxayn Lewis is the unsung hero of that film, no doubt. It's her voice that catapults Davis into a new realm, while it is Davis's voice who belts out "These Dogs of Mine." Lewis performs the rest of the numbers, and in tonight's episode of Rap About It with Mal Adams, Maxayn will explain how she came to sing in the Oscar-nominated film and got to lip-sync for Viola Davis. By way of background, Maxayn is an American soul singer, musician, songwriter, and producer. She began her career in the 1960s under her birth name Paulette Parker as member of the Ikettes in the Ike and Tina Turner Revue. In the 1970s, Lewis sang lead in the band Maxayn with her then-husband Andre Lewis. She was described as a cross between Aretha Franklin and Roberta Flack. And I'm going to throw one more in there just as a personal thing. Patti LaBelle, can I do that?
Yeah. All those ladies are
All
fantastic.
of them. And hey, Chaka Khan, okay.
In the same breath with them is such an honor.
Hey, listen, I got some more to share with my people because I found out recently that Chaka was influenced by you. We'll go there later. Okay, so as I mentioned, she was described as a cross between Aretha Franklin and Roberta Flack, and then her group eventually morphed into Mandre. Now, Maxayn is also a prolific backing vocalist. She has sung with various acts, including the Gap Band, Donna Summer, Ray Charles, Celine Dion, Johnny Guitar Watson, Bonnie Raitt, Simple Minds, Duran Duran, Smokey Robinson, Ricky Martin, and Britney Spears, of all people, to name but a few. She's laughing. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a viral standing ovation and join me in welcoming my friend, my colleague, my sister, Maxayn, baby. Yeah. In the house right now. We got you. We got you. We got you. Baby, oh, Scotty, some of this. You had a live show earlier tonight, huh? I understand,
Yes,
huh?
yes,
Yeah.
thank you, baby. Oscar Sama,
Oh,
thank you.
Scotty, summer. And let's go right there first. That Japan thing. Man, I haven't
Okay,
seen you or spoken to you since Japan, really. We have chatted online. But wow,
all right.
it's been a minute to see your beautiful face. And my God, when I posted your photo to do the promotion on this, look at that photo on my page. Wow, the blood and the blood. Like, what? Your age ain't got nothing to do with you, huh? You look great.
Technology, all technology. No,
Is it? Yeah, yeah. Thank God, huh?
all technology.
Because aging is not for sissies. I can tell you, man. I recently got my new look, shaved my crop, and I was gonna go fro, and then that's troublesome.
So what you
Because since I
saying?
started, huh?
Your hair is just not the same color, but your face looks the same. You look
Yeah,
the
right.
same.
Trust me, this beard is not the same color either. I
Yeah.
thought I was gonna regrow it and grow it back, and I said,
Well,
nah,
then you look distinguished.
nah.
So you
Thank
don't
you.
look old. You look
Nah.
distinguished.
Mature. Is
Yeah.
that good? Yeah.
No, it's like a distinguished looking
Thank,
gentleman,
thank you so much.
like that. Yeah.
Appreciate that. Well, on with
Yeah.
the show then, because this is the renewed version, as I mentioned to you earlier in the pre-show, that this show is 52 years old. Started in 1969, or 1970 actually, with Brother Harold Dow, rest in peace, CBS correspondent, and my brother and mentor. And we would do this weekly show to give a voice to the voiceless because you remember what was going on in the world in America in the 1970s and late 1969. It was crazy. And
Struggle continues.
oh my God. So we'll touch on all of that because Ma Rainey, by the way, congratulations. My
Thank
God, your
you.
career just keeps on evolving, doesn't it? It gets
It
greater
does.
later, is what they say.
Yeah.
But you're
It's
like me.
amazing.
You're like me. I'm 52 years in the game, overnight successor, 52-year
Yeah,
overnight
it's a
success.
long night. That's what I tell people.
What?
Overnight success, yeah, it's possible, but it's a very long night.
A very long night. And we're gonna talk about it. So look, uh, born in Oklahoma City,
Tulsa. Not
Tulsa.
Oklahoma City. Tulsa.
Tulsa, great. And how, how about your parents? Let's go there because I have a point to make. Where are your mom and dad from originally?
They're from Oklahoma. They're from a little small town in Oklahoma called Okmulgee.
Wow.
That's where they're from, which is that whole area is very steeped in a lot of very diverse culture with Native Americans
Oh,
and First
absolutely.
Nations people out there in that area, and Creole
Okay.
people, and some white people, and of course blacks.
Right.
And they were raised out there in that whole area of Okmulgee. Very distinctive kind of little small sleepy town. I mean, really small and sleepy town,
Well,
but all kinds of the elements sort of all came together, and people lived in peace, and they
oh,
took care of each other. My grandfather had a farm out there, and we used to go there in the summer and spend like a whole month, because kids used to get out of school for a month, for a couple of months.
yeah.
We would go do that, and just learn about all kinds of things. So how do things grow? How does food work? How does the whole thing? I learned a lot. You know.
You mentioned your grandfather. So where was he from originally? He was also from the area, or grandma?
Well, no, he was originally from, okay, his trail is like from Texas, and then moving back to like Florida, or like Florida, and then the islands. But
Wow.
because my grandfather's family was actually from Ethiopia.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
their roots. We know that our roots are in Ethiopia, And
That's very
so
interesting and unusual in terms of
partly,
diaspora of African
yeah.
Americans. You know, it's hard. I can go back to, we think maybe Ghana, a lot of West Coast Africans. You know,
Mhm.
but my grandfather paternal, Fulton County, Atlanta, Georgia. That's as far as we
Okay.
know. And then on mama's side, there's a little bit of Irish happening in there with some
Mhm.
Canadian Cree Indian going on and some African
Okay.
in there, you know. So we get melanated complexion diversity and all of that.
Yeah.
But I was just wondering in Oklahoma, you know, how your roots evolved and got to there, because my point about in doing my studies with this film, let's shout out August uh, Wilson,
Oh yeah.
first and foremost, for writing this script, this book,
Quite a
this
powerful
play.
piece. It's
Huh?
quite a powerful piece.
Oh, no question, very powerful. As are most of his writings, you know, because he deals with the humanity, he deals with African American history and our culture and what. But the reason I was curious about your roots is because the setting in Chicago of this band recording live for Ma Rainey, the mother of blues, as we are coming to know. A lot of people didn't know about Ma Rainey. There are not too
Yeah.
many photos around about her, but I'm sure I want to pick your brain about your preparation
Hmm.
for this job in terms of revisiting the history, because I'm a history nut as a journalist. The stuff I write today becomes history. I've always been a history buff, and I was very curious, uh, questioning you about your roots. This movie actually represented the Black migration, did it not? From the South, people coming into Chicago, the big city.
Yes, there was a lot of that happening and back and forth, and Ma Rainey uh, was just she wanted more.
Hmm.
She was in that generation of young Black people who were exited out of the South and were going to the northern cities looking for a better life and better career opportunities, better education opportunities, that kind of thing.
Running
Her,
from Jim Crow.
yeah. So they were really looking for that, and she was like, she had a future. She could see. She was a visionary. That's the word I want to use. She was a visionary because when she recorded her first music in 1919.
Wow. Wow.
So that's like 100 years ago.
Absolutely.
This is a person, and she was like one of the first artists in America to record. That was the whole genre. The whole thing was like, is this going to work? You know, at
Yeah, yeah.
that time, if you really study the recording industry, that was nobody knew if it was going to last or would it work or but she had faith that it was, and she started writing music. She had songs and stories she wanted to tell, and she
Wow.
did her thing.
I
And
understand. I
in the
understand
climax,
she bounced off a vaudeville experience prior to going touring
mhm,
as a straight up stand up blues singer. The history points to one African American sister who was a vaudeville artist who was the first actually to record the blues. I
yes,
believe preceded her. You know about that? I can't. I
yes,
don't know the
and wait
details.
a minute, I'll tell you her name. Williamson, I do
Okay.
believe, was her last name, Williamson.
Okay, but she came out of the vaudeville experience.
Right. And then
Remember that?
she recorded as well. Yeah. But they were right in there, sort
Okay.
of in tandem,
Yeah.
doing that. And they were making history. That
Absolutely.
was history. And they were very popular, and they had their own little following of people that they could go around to those back roads and do what they call juke joints
Juke joint.
and play
Sure.
those places.
Sure.
And out in the middle of the woods or somewhere where Black people could have their own little space, because it was horrible then. The society at large, especially in the South, was angry that Blacks had been given their freedom and
Thank you.
that they had the nerve and the audacity to want to vote and do all these things and own property and just live lives,
and create on their gifts and their talent and establish a new genre called the blues, which is
That's right.
reflective of their experience as African Americans in the South, emerging out, all
It
of
was
that.
just a
And then, of course, they were
progression.
hating on them because they had something for the new technology, right? This fledgling
Exactly. And they wanted
recording
to
business.
capture. Exactly. They said, oh, yeah, we need to capture whatever that is. Let's get it. This is something new, a new sound, new technology. And that was the highest technology at that time for
Yeah,
capturing
absolutely,
music.
absolutely. As you can see in the film, they had to tap, tap, tap.
I
Where's it? Oh,
love that they
you know,
kept that whole sequence of
wasn't
seeing
it
the
awesome?
machine, everything, the way it worked and everything.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
So I'm going to be doing this with you for the next hour. We're going back and forth because I want to. This is an opportunity to pique your brain and get the benefit of your present day experience. Your career is your crowning moment right now. This is something so incredible. So who better to talk to than my friend and veteran, you, about what you just commented on, the new craft, the new art, the new technology, and how it evolved and helped establish our music in the industry to where it dominated. But there was the subtext as well, the drama she had with the record company owners, that who were trying to advise her about her music. Man, I love that. She said,
The one,
it's gonna go down like I say it's going down.
yeah, it was like she was fighting some of the same battles the women artists are fighting right now.
That's what I want you to speak on. You see?
That's she was
Talk to me
she
about
was
it.
having to really assert herself and not be, she didn't want to come off as an angry Black woman. She wanted to be a woman who was a visionary, who wanted people to listen to her, get on her wavelength with her, and do this music and let her, and she wanted to fly free.
Yeah,
But there were so many different little and bigger things that was still pressing down on her,
yeah,
and
yeah.
she was fighting to be free and live her dream.
And what a
That
fighter she was. What a fighter
Yeah,
she was because she insisted on her autonomy in the face of the Chicago big city record company owners and profiteers, you feel me? And she said, it's not going to go down like that. and then shout out to Chadwick Boseman. Good Lord. What an artist.
the whole cast, the whole
Just incredible.
ensemble, just incredible,
Glenn Turman. Wow. What a career.
just incredible. Every person in it was right. The casting was just spot on.
Viola Davis. Not,
Yeah.
not the least of which was Viola,
Oh,
her performance. Jesus.
I have loved her work since the first time I saw her, and the first time I witnessed her for her work was in Antoine Fisher.
Okay, sure.
A lot of
Was
people don't
it, well,
realize
yes, wasn't that also a Denzel product?
Denzel, Mr. Washington, directed and acted in the film as
Yes,
well.
he did. I remember that from his experience.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about it. Let's get to the good stuff. Come on, this is Mal and Max kicking it. What was it like? First of all, I know. Shout out to Buddy Williams, who's the first person that told me. He said, "Man, that's Maxayn." I said, "What?" I went back and watched the movie again. I said, "Wow." I gotta shout it out. So, Buddy, our good brother in Brooklyn, shout out to Buddy, who opened this new series for me, by the way, told me it was you, and I reminisced to the time you, myself, and Buddy Williams were going into the Pickford one night, and there
Yeah,
was some drama at the gates.
I remember that.
You remember
Yeah,
that?
I remember that.
And we quickly quelled that nonsense.
Yeah, like, no, and it was fine.
Yeah, yeah, it was beautiful. So Shout out to Buddy. But listen, in your experience, you talked about what she had to go through. You had to have had some experiences that you can share, starting in this business at such a young age. Let's
Yeah.
retrace it. Let's retrace it, and then
Oh,
give me some
I can
highlights
see
that you
that.
can pull from the movie that you experienced in your life as a female in the business and a professional early on. First of all, talk about we know Branford Marcellus and you did the thing to make this happen. But before that, let's talk about Ike Turner. I tried to find a photo. I got an old photo of me and Ike Turner and my family, my Japan family. Scotty was like 3, and Alisa was just a baby, and Kimie was there, and me and Ike Turner hanging out at an event he did in Aichi Prefecture years ago. And Ike and my brother Jimmy, rest in peace, from Venice Beach, were good buddies. I first met him there. But how did that happen for you to stand there with Ike and Tina?
Well, it happened. This is always, I tell people this, I've never auditioned for anything. I have never auditioned.
You just come highly recommended. That's it.
Somebody will recommend me, and I go, and they go like, "Yeah, we want you. We want you
Sure.
to do this." And so I'm like, "Oh, okay." I thought I was going to have to audition. I always had this thing in my mind because I would see things on television and film and movies where people were like pounding the pavement, and they had to go to New York, and they had to
Sure.
walk and beg people for jobs, and they were starving artists, that kind of thing. So I was like, I don't want to be a starving artist, but I want to be an artist.
Sure.
I want to be in it. I want to do this, you know. But I was at home. I had been singing locally. I had went to college. I didn't finish. I had dropped out because of some racist incidents that happened at Oklahoma State University.
Pause. Let's be specific, if I may. You talk about it as much as you want to. There was something in your history that there was some incident with a Caucasian male.
Yeah, a group of them. But
group.
aside from that, I mean, they had what they call the Rolls Royce, and they still do the Rolls Royce of student unions in America.
Okay.
And they have a lot. They had a lot of money, the school itself, and they had a beautiful student union with all these beautiful artifacts from all over the world. I mean, beautiful rooms, from rooms completely furnished in Russian decor or Romanian decor, whatever. They had these beautiful things. And in the front of the building, they had like a 2 or 3 story tall stained glass window. That was a Confederate flag.
Oh boy.
Stained glass.
Oh boy.
Okay. And they had it was like 23,000 people on campus every day.
Okay.
So you can imagine the size of this. It's like massive. The school itself is massive out there in Stillwater, Oklahoma, just like huge. And they had 153 Black students.
Wow.
Out of 23,000 people on campus every day. And so we would see each other. We used to call ourselves the flies in the buttermilk. We'd wave at each other, across the way when the classes were changing. We still had our connections, but they had some fraternities and sororities that were white sororities and fraternities. And the Sigma Chi's, I'll never forget them, marching in the middle of the night, and really these white guys just whooping it up out there and screaming and yee-hawing and doing that. And they were singing, "Oh, there'll never be a N-word, Sigma Chi." And they would sing a big chorus of them, just 200 or 300 of them out there marching, doing this.
Wow.
And I was like, whoa, I don't want to. I'm in the library down on main campus. I lived off of main campus up in student apartments. That was like a good little, maybe a half-mile walk up a hill, and then I get to my apartment, and it's cold in the wintertime. And I'm walking. Now the A Phi A, the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity house was set on that road where I walked up the hill. It was sitting there, but it wasn't on campus on Fraternity Row because it was the Black fraternity.
Sure.
So it was different. And I'm walking home. I had heard these hundreds of voices out there singing this stuff, and I'm like, I should just go home. I don't want to be down here too late. So I'm gonna go now. And I go out to get up there, up the hill, and these guys pull up beside me in a car, a Mercedes, 4 white guys in a car. They go like, "You want to party?" And I go like, "No, I don't." Keep walking. And they get out the car. "Come on, get in the car." And they started trying to pull me in the car. Well, it's a fight. I started like fighting and screaming. And these guys were standing on the porch at the A5A house. Like they smoked outside, smoking cigarettes outside of the house. They saw what was happening. They ran over, got me out of there, sent these guys on their way. The guys like jumped in the car and drove away, that kind of thing. And then one of the A5A guys took me up the hill and dropped me off. And I was at my apartment. And then after that, I thought about it. Go like, I don't want to go to school anymore.
Wow.
I don't want to be at this school.
Timestamp this for me. Is it mid-70s or early 70s?
This is like in the late 60s before I started the Maxayn band. I was like, no, I want to go to a different school. And I had this intention that I was going to come back home, regroup myself, because I had a Lynx cotillion. I was a debutante. Yeah. So I had a Lynx cotillion scholarship.
Awesome.
That was actually cash. So it was like on deposit at the school so I could get it back. And I was going to go to a different school and just figure out what that was. And while I was doing that, some people said, "Do you want to sing at this club called Casa Delgado?" Which was like a new little place that was owned by some guy that came from New York or New Jersey or something. Mm. And I started singing there with a guy named Carl Day, who was like a blonde, blue-eyed soul brother that dressed like James Brown, had his hair, blonde hair, all flipped like James Brown, but he could actually really sing. He was really, really awesome. So I was playing keyboards with him and singing with him, and we called ourselves Night and Day. And so that's where people heard, and they're like, "Oh, you're doing this gig with Carl Day?" "Oh yeah, sure." Then people would come from, travel. People come from Missouri, from Kansas, because of where Tulsa sits in Oklahoma, is up on the northeast corner. So we're all the sort of a convergence of those 3 states right there. Not far. You can drive a 100 miles and you're in Missouri, or 100 miles and you're in Wichita, in Kansas. So that kind of thing. So somebody that saw me performing there at Casa Delgado, they were in Wichita, Kansas. They went back to Wichita, Kansas. I don't even know who it is. And they Ike and Tina had made an announcement. We are looking for we need one person to fill a spot to sing background. If you know anybody, if anybody's here that wants to come backstage and talk to us at the end of the gig. This is in Wichita. I wasn't there. What? And so somebody goes back there and said, "Oh, you guys were great. Did you get anybody?" They said, "No, nobody showed up." "Well, where are you going next?" "Going to Tulsa, Oklahoma." "Oh, when you get there, look up this girl."
Oh, no.
Awesome.
What?
Get there, they called Ernie Fields Sr. Remember him?
That name sounds familiar.
He had a song called "In the Mood." He was a recording, a big band. He had a big band, and they traveled and toured, very successful. And he was the head of the Musicians Union in Tulsa.
Wow.
And so they called him. He said, do you know this girl, blah, blah, blah. He said, "Yeah, here's her number, blah, blah." So on a Saturday morning at 7:30, the phone rings. I'm sleeping late because I worked the night before. My mom says, "The phone is for you." I go to the phone. I'm thinking, who is this playing on the phone? Everybody knows, don't call me after the gig. Everybody knows this. So this is somebody playing on the phone. This is what I'm thinking. And I go, sort of gruff, "Yes, hello." and it's actually Ike Turner, but I don't believe it. And he says, hi, is this Paulette? And I go, who is this? I said, and then I start naming off people that I'm thinking that it is. I'm naming off names. You need to stop playing on the phone. You guys need to grow up. And quick, I hang up the phone in Ike's face. He calls me right back, and then I can hear in his voice that, oh, wait a minute, that's not anybody I really know.
Wow.
This must be. He goes, don't hang up this damn phone anymore. That's what he said, and I was like,
oh my God.
My friends on the phone, they do this kind of stuff all the time. I'm really sorry. Okay, what did you want? He said, we're going to be there at 6 o'clock this evening, and can you come down to the Mayo Hotel and meet with us, which is a really nice hotel. And if you're interested, I may have a job for you.
Oh my God.
Oh, okay. And he says, okay, so I'll see you then. And he hangs up the phone. And then I was like, if this is really real, wow. And I went back and I laid down and I went back to sleep because I was so tired. And then I woke, and then I think I slept for maybe another hour because I could feel my mother's heat because she was angry. It's Saturday, you should get up and clean the house.
And you're thinking, what a dream I just had, right?
Yeah. And then she comes in the room and she's vacuuming my room. So it's like, okay, I'm awake. Get up, I have to do it. So I just got up and I had an appointment because I used to do modeling for different stores. I did women's clothes and jewelry in the Oklahoma Eagle, which is an all-black newspaper. So I would be in the newspaper and you'd see me wearing all the rings, the sale at so-and-so and the sale at this, and I would be modeling. And so my friend was going to come take me, a girlfriend of mine named Lynetta. And so when she came, I didn't tell my mother I'm going to go talk to Ike and Tina Turner. I didn't tell them because I didn't know what was going to happen. So let's not set off any alarms until I really know what it is. Kind of thing. So I go down, I do this. She takes me to the photographers. He's got everything all laid out. You're going to put this shirt on. You're going to put the rings on. Do this hand. Do that. Do this. That kind of thing. I do that in about an hour. I'm done. So then we go over to the hotel, and we get there and we go upstairs. I know, call on the phone. I'm here. Says, oh, come upstairs. We have a room. You're up here. He's in a big suite. And Tina wasn't there because she had gone out to go shopping around downtown Tulsa. And so we get there and he's on the phone and he looks really beautiful. He's like clean, sharp. He's really dressed nice, but not dressed up, just casually dressed, beautiful.
Yep.
And on the phone. And so I'm just sitting there and Lynetta's sitting there. He says, sit down, have a seat, have some refreshments if you want some. He had a big table laid out with all kinds of food and everything. And so I'm like, okay, do you want something? So Lynetta says, I'm eating, I'm hungry. So she goes over and gets something to eat. I was too nervous. I was just sitting there going like, that's really him. Okay, that's really. And then all of a sudden through the door burst Tina Turner. And she's dressed incognito with a really short little pixie wig on.
Wow.
Sunglasses, mod clothes, looks like she stepped out of the pages of Vogue or Bazaar magazine. She looked fantastic. And these guys were bringing all these packages up to where she had been shopping and she had all this stuff that she had brought in. She walks over and she looks at me and she looks at Lynetta. And then she goes, you're an Ikeette. She points at me and says, you're an Ikeette. And I said, I am? She goes, come with me. And
whoa!
I'm just sitting there. She looks. She goes, "You're an Ikeette." And I was like, "Okay, wow." So we go back into the rest of the suite, and then there's people back there doing costuming, repair, cleaning, doing all that, and they have all these dresses and racks of clothes. And then all these wigs and stuff are lined up in there, and it's like a factory or something in there. And I was like, well, I didn't even know if anybody was in here doing this. And then she asked me, are you married? I was, no, I'm not married. She goes, you have any kids? No, I don't have any children. She goes, okay, do you want to travel? Do you want to do this? Can you sing harmony? Can you do that? Can you dance? Can you do that? I'm like, yes, yes, yes. I said, yes.
All of that.
Then she goes, okay, okay, now we got to see how you're going to look. Let's work out your look. And I'm like, okay. She starts opening the closets and the racks and pulling out things and pulling up to me clothes and this. And at that time, she and I wore the exact same size shoe and the exact same size dress.
Wow.
So any dress she pulled out, she goes, oh, that's the same size. You're the same size as me. We're the same height. We're the same everything. So I tried on the shoe. It fit. A silver dress, the whole nine. She put this wig on me. And then she goes, okay, let's go out here. You can sing harmony? I said, yeah, I play piano. I can sing any kind of harmony.
Yeah.
You know,
I got an ear. Yeah.
I'm to music school, so we can do anything. And so she goes, okay, let's go back out there and I want Ike to see that this is going to be great. And the other people that were in there working, they were like, oh, this is going to be great. So I walk out of the room back into the room where Ike was sitting on a couch yelling. And it's filled with people. Everybody in the show. Everybody. Wow. The band, everybody, the girls, everything. And when I walk out of the door, they all just went, whoa! And they start clapping.
Wow.
And I was like,
wow.
All those people were going to be there. So, and then they said, okay, so can you leave tonight? You can bring one large suitcase, one small suitcase. One small bag, one big bag. And can you leave tonight? I was like,
what?
Yeah, after the show. But one thing, you have to come home and see my parents. You have to talk to my parents.
I was just going to say, Mama ain't heard nothing yet, right?
You have to talk to my parents. And so I was like, okay, so we'll just come. Do your parents want to come to the show? I was like, I don't know if they want to come to the show, but because they don't know this is happening. They don't know.
That would be a bit of a shock.
What is happening? So I need to go back home and tell them what's happening and get my bag packed, and I'll be ready to go after the show. And he said, well, you can come to the show. So Lynetta and I went to the show, but I went home and I was like a tornado in my house. I was like picking up, okay, do I want to take this? No, I don't want to take that. Oh, no, don't. All I have is college girl clothes. I don't have anything, anything, but I didn't need to have clothes for performance. They had that a lot with, tons of dresses and shoes and everything. So I was like, so I can just take my jeans and my loafers and a sweater and a coat. And that's what I did. I took just basic stuff and cosmetics and stuff. And I had it all packed, but I still didn't tell my mom. So really? After I got my bag packed, she goes, I did my laundry. I did all this stuff. And I went, I'm going to go see this show tonight, Mom. Me and Lynetta are going to go see it. And by the way, I got a new job. She goes, where? And she goes, I said, Lynetta's coming to pick me up. She goes, wait a minute. What kind of new job did you get? She was in the kitchen cooking. And I said, I got a job with Ike and Tina Turner. Like that. I didn't want to say, with Ike and Tina Turner. She goes, what? I said, with Ike and Tina Turner? She goes, girl, stop playing. I was like, no, it's true. I went to see them and they called, that's who called me on the phone this morning. And she goes, and they want you to leave now? I said, no, like later after the show. She goes, oh, they're going to have to talk to your dad. You're not going anywhere till they come and talk to him. He's going to want to know all the,
ins and outs, of course, yeah.
Yeah, no, you're not just going to go jump on a bus and leave. No, they have to come here. And I said, oh, okay, so I'll leave my suitcase here and I'll tell them. So, and the show was great. It was rock'em sock'em. They never flinched. I was like, okay, let's go. Tell us where to go. So I'm driving my dad's car and I drive back home. They follow me with these two big giant tour buses that have their names in on the side.
Wow.
And I take them. They come into my house and meet my mom and dad. And Tina goes, something smells so good in here.
Uh-oh.
The food, what is that? You know, because they've been working.
Sure.
And so I met my dad, and my dad had his own little study with his own television and record player, and he could sit in there and smoke cigars, and he had a fan that pulled all the stuff out the window so it didn't come into the rest of the house. So I went in there and they closed the door. And they stayed in there for an hour. Tina said that she asked my mom if she could take a shower. My mom said, why don't you take a bubble bath? And we went upstairs. We got the bubble bath made for her. My mom had made salmon croquette, and she ate the food. She had a bubble bath. She changed her clothes because we were getting ready to travel right then. They weren't staying in the hotel. We were leaving, going to Memphis, Tennessee. That's where we were going first.
So after the show, they had checked out of the hotel, right? And obviously,
out of the
and
hotel.
ready to hit the road. But your home was first stop.
Right, first stop before we roll out, and my dad talked to Ike for about an hour, and they came out and they were fine. And my dad said, "Okay."
Wow. Listen,
And
I'm dying to do something here. Let me try something. Keep talking. I'm gonna screen share right here because I think I have a photo from very near that time of you. Maybe you sent this to me. There's 4 of you, and you're second from the left.
Yeah, that's the girls. That's when that was the first photo shoot that we had done as the Ikettes all together.
Let me keep talking. Let me see if I can find this in my files here. Amazing. Go ahead. So Tina had dinner at your home. They had dinner.
Yeah, she had dinner with my mom. She sat there and talked to my mom. They were so personable and so down to earth, but at the same time very disciplined. And when I say that, I don't mean that they were like it wasn't like being in the military. It was beautiful. You know, it was really, really lovely.
Awesome.
And this, because remember, I met them before all of that other crazy stuff happened. It hadn't happened yet. I was there when it started to happen, but it hadn't happened then.
Right on.
And so Ike was very disciplined.
Can you see that? Excuse me. Can you see that?
Yeah.
That's you on the second from the left there, right?
That's right. That's right. The girl up next to me on the end is Ann Thomas.
Okay.
And then the girl on the other side of me is Pat Powdrill. And then the other girl at the other end, that's Jean Brown. Okay. And so we were at that time, we were the it girls.
Y'all were hotties, baby. Look at
girls. When we went to Europe, we were the it girls. We couldn't go anywhere. It was like people following us. They're trying to just grab us and just, it was like insane. It was like really fun, but it was the things that you think are going to be one way, especially about fame and fortune and everything. You think, oh, I'll just be living the life and I'll be, somebody peel me a grape or whatever.
Yeah.
But it isn't like that. It really isn't. And I like that I can.
It's work. It's a job, right? It's work.
And it's very specific. And you have to really watch what you're doing. Be really vigilant. Watch your surroundings, because there are people who just they want to know you, or they want to be close to you, or they want to touch you, but they don't realize that they're being kind of violent. It's kind of like turns into assault.
Trust me, the word fan comes from fanatic.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what it is, right?
So that's what it is. And people, I didn't let us go anywhere unescorted. Anywhere. We didn't go anywhere unescorted. And he was very, very adamant about that. I mean, everybody says all that. Really, there's, later on in his career, he had he fell from grace in many ways.
Yeah, but
But
set the
when
record
I
straight.
met
You're
them,
talking about back in the heyday when they first, you know.
he was an excellent businessman. He showed us how to read the contracts,
Hmm.
what a writer meant, what the legal lingo meant in the language in the contracts.
Awesome.
How it was really it was like going to the university of being a performer.
So what a great foundation for starting your career in the industry, right? You come off like that, so you were not about to be abused, taken advantage of in the business. I want to get to that later as we talk about Maxayn and then the transition to Mandre as well, because you had to have been able to contribute to that. I didn't know whether the other fellas, if I can make
Yeah.
this transition, because I want to come back to this story. So tell us how this is finish about how you got on
So
the.
so then I got on the bus, and then it started pouring rain, but we were on the freeway anyway, and we headed out of town, and I wouldn't go back to Tulsa for 2 years because I was constantly working. And the first tour that we did 347 one-nighters in
Jesus.
365 days. So when people say, "Oh, it's so glamorous, you get to wear beautiful clothes and hair and makeup," you know, yeah, you do. You get to do all of that, but we worked really hard. I always say it's the hardest job I'll ever love.
Yeah, sure.
It's the hardest job
So,
I'll ever love
where
because
did, where did you go those 2 years? Where were you traveling internationally?
yes,
Talk to me.
yeah, we went to
Most exotic place where, in
Iceland,
Europe, Africa, where'd you go?
Iceland,
What?
Netherlands,
Shout out to Adam. Shout out to
all,
Amsterdam.
all of Scandinavia, of course, UK, Germany, Yugoslavia, Italy, Portugal, Spain. We went everywhere. We covered it. And we came back. We went to Canada. We did all that. And then the United States. I've been to every state in the United States
Wow.
and every province of Canada and every state in Mexico.
And obviously every major stage or arena in those places.
Exactly. We played all kinds of places all over America, not just big cities. I'm talking about little hamlets, in the South. It was like amazing. It was just amazing.
Wow.
Seeing America, really seeing what's in the heartland of America. I really got to witness that and experience that.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah, so it was like a great education
Oh
because
my God.
many
You
people that
couldn't have
live in
paid for that.
many people in America that live in coastal cities, they like New Yorkers think there's nothing else in America but New
Oh,
York. You
absolutely.
know, people in Chicago or Dallas or Houston or
Hey,
Miami or they all think that LA. They think San Francisco. They think this is the place to be. This is what we are. But that's just the fringe. That's the fringes of America.
sure.
America itself is quite different from those fringe cities that sit on the coastal areas, and the lives that people lead and the way they see the world. Their worldview is really different. But
Very
I
interesting.
really learned a lot.
Very interesting. You talk about your Omaha connection, but one thing we have in common. We're Midwest people.
That's right.
And the
That's
life that I had growing up in Omaha, Nebraska had to be comparable to as an African American in those regions. It wasn't bad. I mean, I loved growing up in Omaha. It was peaceful. Times shifted, things changed, the socioeconomic things and racism and all of that. But the community, the
the
environment,
community.
I
Yeah,
mean,
the
we'd go
community.
fishing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Tulsa was Black Wall Street.
Sure.
You know,
Sure.
so there was a lot of Black businesses. I mean, when I came along, it had been burned down, the whole horrible history of it. But they had rebuilt a large portion of it. And a lot of the black, when I grew up, I was going to my whole world was black. Everything.
Let me share this with you.
Pharmacy was black. The all the stores were black where we went. It was everything was black owned and operated.
We had the same experience. Shout out to all my Omaha peeps who are watching this. We had the same experience coming up until about first year in college or high school there. You know, my daddy was a black ghetto lawyer and my grandfather a minister in the AME church. We had dentists, we had doctors, we had shoe shops, we had launderers, cleaners, we had movie theaters, taxi cab companies, 2 of them in Omaha, Nebraska, on the near north side. Shout that out. That's how we came up. And things got crazy, but go ahead.
I'm gonna say that we flourished and people were thriving in those communities basically because of segregation.
Thank you. Speak on it now.
Was my mom, when they started talking about integration, my mom was totally adamantly opposed.
She was wise beyond her years for having thought so, because as you mentioned, was it not for isolation and segregation, we would not have thrived, and we would still been lower tier in terms of where we had to interact with in terms of downtown shops and all of that. We had our own. And
there were a lot of black millionaires.
Yeah.
From owning land that had oil on it.
Well, check this out. Check this out. Early in my career, after going on TV at the age of 19, Omaha, Nebraska, went to New York because you mentioned this. Some of the New York East Coast brothers. We have an East Coast Midwest connection. Shout out to Sam Singleton and the Dow brothers and all those families who came to Omaha because they could not get access like we had in the Midwest. So they came out on athletic scholarships and stuff and lived large. Much of their life foundation was experienced in the Middle East, in the Midwest. So I came back from New York after spending a year in Hackensack, New Jersey, working at WCBS Radio in New York. Ed Bradley had left and gone to Europe, and I took an internship with him, the job he vacated. Point is, came back to Lincoln, Nebraska, the home of University of Nebraska and the capital of the state, and took a job with Nebraska Educational Television Network. Best job I've had in 52 years in the business, because I had this show, Rap About It. I brought it from the local channel, and then a weekly documentary series, a film series. I was making movies at the age of 23, 24 for the Nebraska Educational Television Network, and the best piece that I've ever done to this day was Boley, Oklahoma, the black cowboy town in Boley, B-O-L-E-Y, B-O-L-E-Y, Boley, Oklahoma. Red Fox, I think, was the honorary mayor, and Aunt Esther of the series, she came and hosted the parade. They had a black radio. You ever seen black cowboys with 10-gallon hats on riding bulls?
Let me tell you. That's who my family is. They are those black cowboys.
What?
They are that. And that is a culture.
A big culture. I documented it. I documented it on film. 90 minutes.
We had the black rodeo every year.
Yes.
And the black, and you should have seen the beautiful livestock that black people owned.
No, see.
And they they drove it across country, and they descended on that area.
Yes, and they did.
It was like usually it was like right around from Juneteenth through, and then or the 4th of we did Juneteenth and the Black Rodeo, because we didn't really get into 4th of July.
Right. Okay. So see, where you right next to Texas, that's all about Juneteenth, right? Yeah.
So we did, and Louisiana too. So we did Juneteenth. That was a big holiday. We had the fireworks, everything, and we had a parade. There would be this huge parade with all the horses and the saddles that were silver, and the people in their beautiful Western gear, everything. out there in that same gear. I used to have those shirts with the piping and everything, and the big hats, and we were riding horses and doing all that.
Sure. Omaha, we had a black horse club. Everybody had horses that we would keep in Council Bluffs across the Missouri River in a ranch over there. But we go on the weekends and ride our horses and take care of them. And then, of course, the parade down the center of the black community, 24th Street, we call it the stroll, 2-4. Grandma had a house right on the stroll, so I could watch. But people that I can name right now for you started their music careers in those parades. Shout out, he's coming on after you. I already booked him. Arnold Lucas said to tell you hi.
Oh, I love Arnold. So great.
Shout out to Arnold. That's my young brother by 1 year or so, but I can remember he was one of the baddest little drummers marching, this high, We were stepping and playing the music in the parades.
And that's because we all went to the same schools, and the schools were segregated.
Yeah.
Segregated. And we used to kill in the parades.
Yeah.
Just kill the bands. Everything was so wonderful.
And the young ladies stepping and doing, you know what I'm saying?
You know who was stepping with me when we were doing that? Me and Ronnie Wilson from the Gap Band, who has recently passed away. May he rest in peace. Wow. We were at Washington High School, and he and I were drum major and drum majorette.
That was the younger of the three brothers, or the older?
No, that's the oldest brother.
I knew him. I know him from Tokyo, right? We did a piece. Yeah.
Yeah. So Ronnie Wilson and I, we were in going to the same high school at the same time, doing all that together. And so we grew up. The Gap Band, Robert, Charlie, and Ronnie, they would be at our house. I mean, wow. Robert Lynn basically lived all the time, eating, sleeping, whatever, because he and my brother Imsy Booney they actually had a band that turned into being the Gap Band.
Awesome.
My little brother and Robert Lynn, the youngest Wilson brother, they had a band called the Crown Royals.
Oh, wow. Okay. Isn't that a bourbon drink?
Yeah, they were in junior high school. They weren't drinking, but Crown Royal was like a popular drink in adults. But so they were calling themselves.
Why not? They gave it value. But of course, they had a church background. Did you ever sing in your church? Were your folks church folks, or did you come up?
My mom sang in church a lot, and I played for churches when I was growing up, but our actual home church was not one of those churches that people run up and down the aisles and shout and jump and dance. Our church was just disciples of Christ. It was very black. Our church, actually, when I was a kid, was 100 years old.
Wow.
It had been there a very long time. I mean, it had a lot of black churches that were been around there a long time. Pine Street Christian Church, Vernon AME, which was like right down on Black Wall.
Granddaddy preacher in the AME church.
AME church. And that church is still standing. Vernon AME stood right down at the heart of Black Wall Street. So that church is still standing there. Yeah.
Shout out to St. John AME in Omaha, Nebraska, where I grew up. I was baptized. And of course, not a lot of running up and down, but there was a couple of Sister Cheese, used to hurdle some pews every once in a while. But the organist was playing them gospel jazz licks now, and the preacher would look back and say, all right, now, got to take it to the stage a little bit. But boy, that was our music orientation and all of that. Shout out to the ancestors who mentored all of us who were young, and many musicians. I'm making a transition here. Many musicians from Omaha came from that. And so let me start shouting out. I already howled out Arnold Lucas, but my brothers, my big brothers who Buddy Miles. Can I go? Can I go there?
Keep going.
Curly Martin already shouted you out.
Curly,
He's probably watching now. Shout out to Curly. I got to get him on the show. Whose son is just blown up, right?
Yeah, it's like killing it.
He's killing it. That's
Yes, he is.
Omaha roots, baby.
I know.
Stimsy Hunter. Stimsy. Can I go there?
Yeah, of course. And Stimsy and Marsha, his wife.
Yes. Now we went to college together. You're talking about Gap and Stimsy and I. We take political science together, and Marsha was in the class, I believe, if memory serves me. Okay.
Right.
All right. Let me keep going. Hank Red. Stevie Wonder's tracks. I got a video of you and Hank Red on Soul Train. Can I go there? Can I show that piece? You're getting me excited now because we haven't had a chance to talk about this history, your Omaha connection, and we know so many common friends from my hometown that it's crazy. You a family from day one.
Lalomi Washburn.
Oh, please, come on.
She was in a band. Well, the drummer, Buddy had a backup drummer named Fred. And Fred started when they all left the Buddy Miles band. Andre and Marlo came with me to start the Maxayn band. We got our drummer from Texas, Emilio Thomas. But Fred started a band called High Voltage.
Okay.
And Lalomi Washburn was the lead vocalist, and she wrote all the lyrics and the songs.
Okay, all right, let's not be remiss. I got to go back and shout out Michael Andre Lewis.
That's right.
What? Now, I don't know at what point y'all hooked up, but let me tell you who that guy was. As I'm an elementary kid, Hank Red. Just like you probably saw him, I'll use the word nerdy in a complimentary sense.
Yeah, brilliant guy.
Brilliant guy. Come on. And you know what? St. Benedict's Catholic Church, Catholic school.
That's right.
That's where he went to school. So he wasn't at our public schools. That brother was all about it, musically. Yeah. You would have thought, forget about Headhunters and Herbie Hancock doing the synthesizer funk stuff. That boy wrote the book on it, and I want you to speak with specificity about it later because I'm so fascinated about what we heard him doing back in the day, okay? Just a genius of music and a fun guy, a very serious young man, cool beyond his years. Come on now. And then all of a sudden, I think he may have led the migration from Omaha with Buddy and Herbie and Stimsy and those cats.
He definitely urged them to do it. Come on.
Tell that story for many of our Omaha listeners who may not know the history there. You were on the other end. You were there when they got there. Talk to me about how you and Andre got together.
Because when Buddy did the Electric Flag, that band, that's when the music industry itself was really it was just the universe was calling out people who had any kind of idea, creativity, vision. Now in that realm, it was like so much like you got to get in it. Come on, let's go. And Andre definitely was very instrumental in bringing and pushing Buddy. Come on, let's go, man, let's do it. And helped him put together the Killer Band, and they were awesome.
Hey,
when that band hit, it's like.
Did not your music, Maxayn, your collaboration with that band, and then Andre, and then all of Andre's music, did he not influence Hendrix? Did he not influence George Clinton and the Funkadelics and all of those cats?
All of those people.
All of that came out of what he created and what you guys put out there. It was too much to handle for some at that time. Yeah. So let me transition here. Keep talking and tell me how that evolved and how that came about, and describe the music of that era, and that you all put your footprint on.
Yeah, he told me that when they were doing the Electric Flag thing, then Buddy actually Jimmy discovered them, and but
Jimi Hendrix?
he needed a drummer, and so he got Buddy when he realized Buddy could sing and play.
How about the shout out the Rich Brothers, Billy Rich?
Oh yeah, the Rich brothers, Ronnie Beck and Donnie Beck.
Donnie has been on this show. Donnie's still killing in the Bay Area. He's got some hot product, and I'm gonna bring him in. He's gonna be a regular tribute. He shouts out to I thought.
Yeah, it was just a community of all these incredibly talented people. Who it was just bubbling over. It just had to go somewhere. It had to, because the industry was there, the mode was there, and there was a pathway that you could really get out and get your music going and do things, because there were companies looking for people to do this, somebody that could really do it. That's when they really hired a lot of really super talented people.
I'm gonna shout out a name and tell me what you know. Became a brother to me through my brother as well. He's family. My first Japanese wife I met and married in Los Angeles, and my daughter, shout out to Sakura and Ayami, born in Beverly Hills, Cedars-Sinai. But guess who used to come over to my flat on Adams and Western, plug up into my Japanese Sansui system, put his headphones on, and wrote a song called Maggot Brain? Who?
George Clinton?
Eddie Hazel.
Eddie Hazel. Wow.
Can you hear me? And so George and he would come to Tokyo and we'd hang out, man. Eddie, that boy was family, man. And
he was awesome. He was
just a genius of music, just a genius.
Yeah, he was another really
same kind of thing like Andre, your ex, same ilk, right? Just creating incredible music, And
then Andre started to really, spread out, because they started the rockers really wanted him.
Hey, listen, y'all were kind of rocking yourself, if I must. Y'all were black rockers.
Yeah, we were black rock. What we called it fusion, black rock fusion.
Sure.
Yeah, and people would ask us the funniest questions like, "Well, do you believe in God?" Those kind of things.
What you say? No, God believes in us.
Why would you ask me that question? Why, well, your music is very, very different, and very really just so I had no idea our music was going to have such an effect.
Listen,
I really didn't. I was just like, wow, because when I met Andre, and
tell me that story. How did you meet him?
I met him in Chicago.
Wow.
I was working on the road with Bobby Blue Bland. I was doing a little tour that Ernie Fields Jr. had put me on that tour, because I had left Ike and Tina because they were going through their changes to break up, and then nobody knew what was going to happen. So I came back to Tulsa. While I'm there, I see Mr. Fields, and he goes, "Oh, you're back? Well, do you want to go on another tour?" And I go, "With where?" He said, "With Bobby Blue Bland." And so I thought I was going to sing background for Bobby Blue Bland. But when I got in the band with them, I actually opened the show for Bobby Blue Bland.
Wow.
With his orchestra and singing all kinds of songs, everything.
What?
So I started doing that. Yeah. So
I'd love to see. Do we have any videos or recordings of that stuff back in that day?
I have some recordings, but not video. Nobody had that access then.
Sure.
But Andre's dad played horn. He was a sax player, and he played in Ernie's father's band when they had that song "In the Mood."
Sure.
That song, that big hit, that was Ernie Fields Jr.
Wow.
That was Ernie Fields Sr.'s band. And Andre's father played in that band. He played sax. And I guess he had called Ernie. He ran into Ernie Jr., who was RMD with Bobby Bland. And so he says, "Yeah, we're trying to put this group together, looking for a female singer But look, Ernie said, "Oh, you should come down and see this girl we got singing with us right now. She used to be Ike." So we were playing in Chicago at a place called the High Chaparral. That was the name of the club in Chicago. So we had played there before. Bobby Bland was sort of basing himself out of Chicago for a minute. That was one of his hubs. It was either Houston or Chicago. So we were at the Northern Hub. We're in Chicago, and all these people come down to see us. The Shy Lights,
Wow.
Barbara Acklin, all these stars in Chicago. The Emotions, you know, people, local talent. They all come down to see us play, and I would open the show. Andre Lewis and Marlo Henderson were together, and when I saw them, I knew, like, whoa. Where did they come from? Because the way they were dressed, it looked like they had fell from space.
Footnote. Tell me about the helmets later on, okay?
We'll get to that, but they looked like they had fallen from space and that they were just walking on the earth like aliens from another place. And so Ernie says, "My friends want to meet you." I said, "Okay." You know, a lot of people say they want to meet you, especially if you're performing. So yeah, I went, okay, fine. But then when I was walking toward them, Donny Hathaway stopped me.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know him, but I knew who he was, but I had never met him before. And he gave me his business card. He said, "I would like to work with you." He had on a three-piece suit, a Big Apple hat. He was really dressed to the nines. And Andre and Marlo stood about 6 feet away. They just stood there looking at me, talking to Donny Hathaway, and so intensely that I was talking to Donny Hathaway, looking at them, looking at me, and I was like, in my mind, why are they standing here monitoring my conversation with Donny? And Donny Hathaway said, "I'm a producer, I'm a composer." He was like introducing himself to me like he was a total stranger, but sure. I knew who he was because he was Donny Hathaway, and I was like, you know, taking his card. He said, "I've got to go to New York, and then I'll call you." And I said, "Where?" He said, "Where can I call you?" And I said, "At my mom's house," because I don't have a phone. There was no cell phone then. I gave him my mom's number, and he walked, after he stood there and talked to me, and said, "I think we could do some really good work together. I love your voice. I love what you do." And he gave me his business card, and he walked away, and he walked into eternity. I never saw him again. Wow. But Andre and Marlo stepped to me as soon as Donny Hathaway walked away, and I was looking at the card like, oh, Donny Hathaway, oh my God. You know, I was still in that mode. And then here they just strolled over and stood there and said, "So, we're Ernie's friends." I said, "Yeah." And then Ernie runs over. "Oh, Max, this is Andre, this is Marlo. They play with a guy named Buddy Miles, and they're killer. You know, they're awesome." And then he ran on away because he's trying to talk to some women or something. And then I was like, "Oh, okay, well, nice to meet you guys." And then they said, "So we're doing a band. We want a female vocalist. You're the female vocalist we want, unless you're gonna, but you got to make a choice. You got to go with the guy in the Big Apple hat and the three-piece suit, or you can go to space."
Oh, God.
Or you can go to space with us.
Oh, God. Oh, my
and
God.
Very, very serious. "You can go to space with us."
Wow.
And they were standing there like,
because pre George Clinton and the mothership, because the spaceship is about to leave in 20 minutes.
"Oh, you can do that. So make your choice." And I was like, "Go to space?" He said, "Yeah." "Okay, is that a choice? Are you asking me a question?" I said, "No, I'm really interested in what do you guys do? Where do you get these clothes?" They were so dressed for what could be called now fashion forward, because they had been to Europe and they were wearing all this designer stuff from these designers that nobody had ever heard of, and they were unbelievably well dressed. I mean, so great dressed, so crazy wild. And people were walking by them, looking them up and down, you know, and giving these looks. And so I said, well, but I got a job right now and I'm doing this job. He goes, well, give a notice and then come join us in Boston, Massachusetts. And I was like, what? No, wait a minute. I can't just quit my job, you know, like, what am I going to do after that? You know, like, you know, he said, okay, well, think about it. And I said, okay. So I'm thinking about it. So after Chicago, we went to Atlanta. And I'm like, I walk out on stage, they announce me, I walk out on stage and I start singing. And I look down in the first row in this club where we are in Atlanta, and there's Andre sitting there.
Yo!
Yeah. And he didn't say anything. He just, and then I'm like, and he's like intensely following me like this everywhere I went on stage. And I was like, you, and I kept going like, what? And then at the end of my set, and everybody's giving me a nice standing ovation, he steps to the stage, he goes, you still thinking about it? And I go like, whoa. And then we went to Houston, Texas. We're in Houston, Texas. I come out on stage. I'm like, I told her, and I said, your friend is really strange. Is he? He said, yeah, he's following you. I said, from state to state? This is insane. Walked out on stage in Houston, a big crowd of people. I'm singing. I look over, there's Andre.
Who knew this story? Wow.
And it was so crazy. And I said, why? What are you doing? He said, I'm waiting on you to think about it. And then we're going to do this. Because I know you want to go to space. That's what we were thinking about.
Listen, I'm laughing because I know all the Omaha folks are listening who never heard this side of the story as to what our homeboy did and how he left and got you.
Then the next place we were going to play is Oklahoma, my hometown, with Bobby Bland. And he said, so where are you going? That's where you live. I said, yeah. He said, what's your number there? And I said, this is my phone number there. And he said, okay. So when I got there, my mom said, this very nice gentleman called on the phone. And he said that he looks forward to meeting us.
Us.
I said, oh, okay. And then he calls back and he's staying at the Hilton or something. And I said, you called my mom and told her you're looking for her? He said, yeah. In fact, I'm getting ready to, I feel like I should just get in a taxi right now and come over there, you know, and then we can make some arrangements here for how we're going to do this.
You got recruited, baby.
Yeah, I got recruited. And then he ended up he said, don't worry about money, because I didn't know that I didn't understand that they were these world renowned, because Buddy was huge and he had done the thing with Jimi Hendrix and all that. I didn't know that part. And they were making amazing money. I had been on the Chitlin circuit. Okay.
Yeah.
But they were really, really doing well. I mean, way well. And so Andre said, you have nothing to worry about. I need you to come to Boston. You need to sit down, write some songs. I need you to do this, do that, do that. I'm like, okay, but what about, I have to ask. I'm not going to be making any money. He said, why do you think? I said, well, you mean like working on a job, making money? I was like, well, yeah. Because you won't need to do that. And because I'm gonna give you this now, and that should cover everything, but we'll get your ticket and you can fly there, blah, blah, blah. And he gave me an envelope with money.
Oh.
I was like,
man, we need to do this movie, Max. Come on.
This really real? You know, but Andre didn't care about money like that. He wasn't motivated by money. He was motivated by science, math, and technology, yes, and the cutting edge for the future. That was his thing. He didn't, is that enough? Is that okay? You all right with it? You know?
Yeah, and growing up in Omaha, Nebraska, I think with a daddy musician, he was black middle class. You know, he never, never
Yeah. He
poverty.
was not motivated by money. And the first thing he said when I got there is like, okay, so I have some money that needs to be put in the bank and it's under the bed in the bank bags and you need to do that. And so that, you're handling that. And that was it. And I was like, are you crazy? This is crazy. But we really hit it off, not because of money. We really hit it off musically. Because when I heard Buddy walking around playing the guitar in the middle of the night, we stayed in a 34-room mansion
Where was this?
in Newton Center, in Newton, Waltham, Massachusetts.
Huh.
Yeah.
Is that a place they just rented for?
It was a big house that they rented, like a mansion. It was 34 rooms.
You know, Buddy Miles.
The house were the people that actually started the Berklee School of Music.
Oh, wow.
So they had all this music library. They had everything in it. The house was amazing.
What?
Yeah, it was amazing. I'm telling you, just beautiful. So
let me shout out, go back a little bit while I'm thinking about it. I'm still, what you're describing to me is a lot of us don't realize, because we didn't see that end of it. When he left Omaha and when all the cats followed, that started a great migration. And you're describing it for us. But Henry Red and Stimsy and all these, and Lester Abrams and all the cats.
Oh, Lester Abrams. That's
Okay.
another good man.
Okay.
Yeah.
So all my homies, this is incredible. It's crazy, but everybody's got a story, I'm sure, like that. But but why I regress is because I failed to mention one of the most influential, iconic musicians to emerge was Preston Love. You know Preston Love?
Yeah, I know who that is. Yeah.
Preston Love Jr. is now still in Omaha doing community organizing.
On Facebook, and I follow him. He follows me.
Okay, he's actually been on this show as well, so I will definitely shout you out. Norman, the whole family's musical. Richie did the first renewed show here. I just got a shout out from Richie Love. Still making music, still performing. Richie inducted into the Nebraska Music Hall of Fame the other day when I got inducted into the Journalist Hall of Fame night before. Just an amazing culture. And you're bearing witness to what it came to be by eyes on and sharing that experience. So make a transition. So how did you start Maxayn? At what point? Go there for me.
Buddy, it was decided that he wanted to do something else after we had been there for a while in Boston. And we actually, it was cold in Boston. It was the winter time.
So this was not just a gig. You were living in Boston.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that chapter.
I lived in this big house. It was like crazy.
Okay, I get it.
A lot of famous people lived out in that area because it was very upscale, what they call Boston Brahmins living out there.
Okay.
We were talking to Jack DiGiovanni, who was the manager for Buddy, and we said, can't you get us a gig in a hot climate so we can get out of this freezing cold? So he said, well, let me think about it, and then he came up with us going to Florida. Now, when I went to Florida, we went to Florida, and by this time I was singing a couple of tunes on the side with Buddy and, just sitting in, that's what I called it. But I didn't really, Andre was like giving me money, like it was a job for me to be there, just be.
What was the band name? What was the band configuration at that point with Buddy when you were singing?
It was Buddy Miles with everybody, his whole band with Stimsy Hunter.
Was that Electric Flag though? What was the name?
It was just a Buddy Miles band.
Okay, great. Yeah, some incredible music came out of that.
That's when he had the record out. My mind is going through them changes. Sure. And Down by the River. Okay. That was a big hit then,
Okay.
and you couldn't
All
go
right.
anywhere without hearing it on the radio. And when I went, I'll tell you a story. When I went back to LA, when we came back to LA, I went to visit Tina. Pat Padrillo called me and said, let's go up there and visit Tina. Because we weren't singing with them anymore, but she was at home up on Olympia Drive in Baldwin Hills. So we went over there. And so I said, what you been doing? She said, just thinking about songs. I don't know what we're going to do. And, blah, 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 this kind of thing. And then, so she puts on a record and it's Down by the River. It's that album. And I went, oh, wow. I was supposed to call. I've been in town with Bobby. This is the Bobby Bland thing. I had been in town with Bobby Bland, and Andre said, when you get to California, call me. And I had this number, but I had kind of forgot, like been there 3 days and I hadn't called, that kind of thing. So I said, can I use the phone? And I called him up and he goes, where have you been? I've been waiting on you to call me, bro. And in the background. So, and Tina said, I just love this song. I said, I'm talking to the guy who's playing the keyboards on it right now. She said, really? Tell him I love it, like that. And that was so
Crazy
that,
stuff.
yeah, so it was just so many connections,
Yeah.
all around this whole thing.
Wow.
So when we go to Florida to be in the heat, the warm weather, there was a big earthquake out in California. So everybody was like gathered around the TVs and stuff. And I went walking on the beach. But on Miami Beach, we were at the Marco Polo Hotel. That's where we played. That's where we stayed. So I'm walking on the beach and I got lost, cause from the back facing the ocean, all the hotels look alike. And I walked about a couple of miles. And then I was like, whoa, now I don't know where the hotel is. I don't see Marco Polo. I walked along with. So finally I had to walk back to Miami Beach Boulevard and then walk down the street and then see the sign. And there it is. And I had on a bikini and a sarong and some sandals. So I walked into the lobby. And of course, the hotel security detectives, they think I'm like some floozy girl,
Streetwalker.
Beach walker. Have a key. I actually have a key and I'm there to do that. So I look over as they're approaching me and trying to start grilling me and being a little rude. I look over and I see Dave Prather. You know who Dave Prather was?
No, I don't. Not off that top.
You know who Sam and Dave?
Oh, Dave, of course. I know the name. Sure.
That's Dave, that was Dave Prather.
Yeah.
And Dave Prather said, hey, little queen, because Bobby Bland used to call me Queen. And he said, hey, little queen, what you doing down here? And he said, where is Blue? He thought I was with Bobby Blue Bland.
Okay.
I said, oh, I'm not with Bobby Bland anymore. And he had another guy with him. And this gentleman looked like he had been playing golf, a black guy. And he said, where is Blue? I said, I'm not working with them anymore. I'm with Buddy Miles, with the Buddy Miles band. And we're playing here in the hotel. And I said, I'm trying to tell these guys that, I have my key and everything. They're trying to. So the guy who I was introduced to was Luther Dixon.
I know that
now,
name.
You know that name? Okay, Luther Dixon wrote a lot of hits for the Beatles and for a bunch of people. He did a ton of music work and he was really, really well known. He did a lot of work with a woman named Florence Greenberg in New York. And he had this whole thing. So he said, I've got to invite you to my house. Dave tells me, he said, he wants to invest in a female singer. Invest in her. That's just like that.
Wow.
You have to invest in her. I said, well, I actually have a band. I didn't say, well, yeah, please make me a star. I didn't do that. I said, well, I actually have a band.
Right.
He goes, you got a band? I said, yeah. And he said, well, I want to hear it. I said, well, you could hear the music that we're singing during the night with Buddy Miles, but it's not our band, but our band is in that band. And we're going to go on our way after a while.
Wow.
So they called and got tables, reservations, came to see us at the Marco Polo. The next day, Luther invited us to his house in Boca Raton.
Wow.
And we went there to this unbelievably beautiful house, met his lovely wife. He made lobsters and everything for us, talked about us doing some stuff. And we went into a studio that's famous in Miami. Oh, God. Oh, I can't think of the name of the studio right now. It goes, anyway, I'll think of it. But we go to he said, you want to put down a song? I had one little song that I had written. So we went there the next day and put down this song. And he liked it so much. He said, okay, where do you want to record? Just like this. Where do you want to record?
Yeah.
Andre said, I don't know anywhere to tell us to record. And so Andre said, Record Plant New York, which was, I didn't know that at the time, but that was the premier studio for anybody to record.
Of course.
Anybody.
Just look at the liner notes of everybody we know.
Yeah. He said, we're living in Boston, so Record Plant New York would be the closest, and that would be the best. The Andre just comes with that, boom. So he says, okay, well, I'll make some arrangements. You guys get some more songs together, and we're going to do this.
This is crazy. Wow.
That's how the Maxayn band got that ride, that flip to do what we wanted to do. And he didn't come and tell us anything to do. And he was a music person.
And a composer, right? And a producer, right?
Yeah, he knew the business, everything. But
he felt something about you. You all had your stuff together already, and he was pretty confident.
I want you guys to do what you want to do.
Okay. Let me do this right now. I'm going to pause the recording, and I'm going to put my icon up and take a 6-minute break. You can do the same. Let's come back and continue talking about Maxayn and Mandre, okay?
Okay.
Japan Journal with Mal Adams. The Internet's #1 weekly English language online cybercast from Japan. This episode features our regular series, Rap About It.